And it is time for another episode of Justapod. I am Craig Bone, your host, and we talk to the number one ranked team in boys basketball in Division Two. It's Coach Lavine from Slinger High School. Good morning. Welcome in, Coach.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Almost as good as you guys. 4-1, a very nice start to the season before we get into your roster and your kids. And we definitely want to hit the Whitefish Bay game the other night. People probably saw it on social media, a buzzer beater three. So that was exciting. But let's go backwards just a little bit. You're in your seventh year now at Slinger. You had a nice run into the sectional final last year, but let's go back 7 years and talk about the Slinger program and kind of where it was when you took this program over.
Yeah, this is actually my 8th year, but it's been a while. I was 25 years old and kind of an eager young guy. I thought I was ready for it, and in some aspects I was, but there's a lot of ways that I wasn't, and you don't necessarily realize that until you're doing the job. I've been really blessed to be surrounded by experienced assistants. Both of my varsity assistants have been with me the entire time, and both have been head coaches. Um, and I learned early to empower them more, and that's really been helpful to me. I think it's allowed me to kind of find my niche within our team and within our program, as well as their niches and their kind of specific roles within our team as well. One of our assistants, Derek Berger, coordinates our defensive effort. That's his role on our team. He does a fantastic job. Nate Grimm does a ton of scouting for us. He does our blob situations as well. So we played Tuesday night. We play Friday and Saturday this week. When I log on to Huddle Wednesday morning, everything for the next two opponents is cut up and prepared for us, so we can really be a lot more efficient as opposed to you watch whole games or you watch halves of games, but you can really break things down and make it more meaningful and more efficient if you do what Nate does. So really appreciate those two guys. Overall, the program had a strong standing in that the guy who I replaced, Coach Sheevy, is a Hall of Famer. He had been here for 30 plus years. He did a really outstanding job. I do think, there were a couple things that were happening when I took over, in that we were joining the North Shore. He coached one season in the North Shore, but the level of competition in the North Shore is really challenging, and we've had to adapt to that and grow toward being competitive in this league. The other part of it is just continuing to develop the youth program into something that was competitive with everybody else. Maximizing practice times, getting them in more leagues, maybe more competitive leagues per se. Um, and then just little things like jerseys, equipment, shooting machines, things like that maybe are overlooked, but we needed those things. And it took us a few years to get maybe modernized a little bit. But at the same time, there was a really good structure and foundation, and we just needed to grow upon it. And it took us some time, but I think all in all, things are in a good place presently.
Yeah, I was trying to make you a younger coach. I was trying to say seventh year instead of eighth. Kind
Yeah.
of cut it a year short for you, but
Now I'm getting
hey,
old. Now I'm in my 30s. I feel older for sure.
well, you guys have done a wonderful job. But it's very interesting how you just mentioned really the team effort, right? It's not
Right.
just about on the floor. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, and you mentioned the huddle video and really prepping for a very long basketball season. That's the most intriguing thing about the basketball season is the length of it, right? Maybe talk about that a little bit. How much a team can change from November to March. Maybe that's what happened to your team last year, as you brought back quite a bit of talent, and we'll get into that a little bit. But talk about the length of the season and that kind of challenge, and then playing in the North Shore, as you mentioned, you total all this stuff together, and it is a grind.
Yeah, it's a long season, and I think it's important to, you need to be consistent. You need to value each day. You need to maximize the days that you have. But when you come up short or things don't go to plan, it's important not to panic. You have to have a certain level of patience. I think as I've done this longer, I've developed more patience. But I think it's definitely an important skill of any head coach. You have to know when your guys need to be pushed and challenged and when to not accept certain things. And then when are times where, you maybe just need to live with it and move on and not address it to some extent. And I think each group is a little bit different. We push our guys hard, but that's because I think they need that. But at the same time, how do we find those opportunities um, to just not take things too seriously, to keep things light? I don't necessarily like the word fun. I think fun is a byproduct of what you do. Nobody is going to lose a bunch of games and have fun. So you got to find ways to be successful. And then within that, you take a pride in how you work, and then you start to care about the people that you work with. So I think it's kind of a snowball thing in that regard. But yeah, it's a grind. Yeah, you want to play. We play tonight against Homestead. We play tomorrow against Mount Horeb. They're both really big games, great opportunities. Um, but we're going to play many more meaningful games down the line. So they're just kind of steps towards success. They're little benchmarks. See where you're at, make improvements, grow. Our game Tuesday night we won, but there's plenty to improve upon. And I looked forward to practice the last couple of days just to get better and improve upon the things that maybe we struggled at the other night.
So, visiting with Coach Alex Lavine today from Slinger High School on the Justapod podcast. And let's talk about this game the other night, and then we'll get right into your roster. I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about some of your kids and how much experience is on this roster. And for the most part, still fairly young roster. You got some very talented kids that have a year or two of eligibility left. But let's talk about Whitefish Bay the other night. This one hit the social media circles. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Talk about the game situation. Jack Kohnen ends up hitting a 3-pointer at the buzzer from well beyond the volleyball line, if you will. Talk about that play. I know it's just like you drew it up, right?
Yeah, we called a timeout. We drew up an action. The ball was deflected out of bounds. So then we had a side out situation. The way they covered it the first time, we needed to run something else. We called an action that we practice, but we messed it up. We didn't run it correctly. Sometimes in those moments, the mind starts spinning a little bit. We get a little nervous. So that's something we got to get better at. But yeah, it was literally a dead play, and Jack and Bryson kind of played catch with it for a minute, and then all of a sudden, I had this feeling like, geez, are we even going to get a shot off? And I had no timeouts left, so um, Bryson had the ball. The defender kind of jumped at Bryson just enough. Bryson gave it back to Jack, and Jack had it was deep, but I think he had the space to kind of get his feet set and get under himself and have a clean look. It wasn't like there was a hand in his face. It was deep though. When it went up in the air, it looked good. But we've all had those where they look good in the air and then they rattle out. So to see it go in was great. I think we're fortunate. Whitefish Bay played a really good game. They presented a ton of challenges to us. We were down 8 with 2.5 left. But last year when we played them at home as well, we were, I think, down 5 with about a minute and a half left. So two games that were eerily similar of each other. Fortunate for us that we made the last play. And sometimes it's just the way it is. The margin of errors and the difference between winning and losing is fine. We had some good stretches in the first half where we were able to extend the lead to maybe 8-10 points, and then in the second half we were able to get off to a good start. Maybe it was like 39-31, and then we just couldn't score. We scored 17 points in the second half until about the last 2:30 when we scored 9. So sometimes the game is really just that simple. You got to be able to put the ball in the basket, and we struggled to do that. Credit to our defense though for giving us a chance to hang in there. We executed some traps and some situational things really well down the stretch. We scored quickly. We got the ball, down the court, made confident plays, gave ourselves a chance. And even if we lose, we really were resilient. We never quit. We gave ourselves a chance to win. And sometimes, like you said, over the course of a long season, that's just how it's going to be. It's just not going to go your way. And if you can find a way to win those games, those are, the defining ones throughout the season. Maybe the ones that decide, tiebreakers or conference races, etc.
So your Slinger All team, 12-13 overall last year, 8-10 in the North Shore. That might be a little deceiving when somebody says 8-10 in the North Shore. you got to look at the conference you're playing in. 8 and 10
Yeah,
is a lot
that was actually
different.
2 years ago. That was 2 years ago.
Oh, that's 2 years
Yeah, yeah,
ago. It
yeah.
was 8 and 10.
Yeah,
My bad. My notes were
yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Um, Last year we were 17-1, so we made the 8 and
Yes.
10 jump, or we were 8 and 10, and then we went 17-1.
There you go.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and I think last year there was 3 buzzer beater wins, or just before the buzzer beater. So like maybe we scored with 2 seconds left or something. So the difference between one loss and 4 losses is 3 plays. So pretty crazy. That you mentioned the 8 and 10 record the previous year. We I think at one point we were 8 and 8 or 7 and 6 or something like that. And we kind of thought, hey, let's finish above 500 in the North Shore. That's a really good step. Um, and we lost like 3 of our last 4. And in our last conference game on the road, we lost by like 15 or 20 points. It was disappointing. But I think, just like any disappointment, there's opportunities to grow and get better. And by and large, this group has been together from that season through now, and steps towards success. Everybody wants it to be put in a microwave and it to be easy, but it's just really not. And
No.
I'm not even saying just the kids, but there's things that I needed to get better at, and I needed to help them to grow in, and you know, so it's just it's a process. It takes time. I think the coming up short in certain moments has been good for us, and we're better because of it. Um, so it's just not that easy. It's not a flip of a switch.
Yeah, you guys make it all the way to the sectional final last year. And you know what they say in sports, very difficult to beat a team 3 times.
Yeah.
And you ended up playing Cedarburg 75-66 in that third meeting last year. So very challenging, as we mentioned, throughout the North Shore. Let's talk about your roster a little bit. This is a nice mixture of some senior talent, and then you got a couple of Kohnen kids. And we talked about Jack with the 3-pointer the other night. He's averaging 22 points a game, 10 rebounds, throw in 4 assists. He's blocked 14 shots, had 33 the other night with that game winning triple. Let's start with Jack and then his brother Joey, key contributors to your ball club this year.
Yeah, Jack's been great, especially the last 2 games for us. Shooting the 3 ball a lot better. He's at 50% right now. Last year he was in the lower 30s. So a huge piece of improvement for him. He's really been able to dominate the paint the last maybe year and a half. And a guy at his size is, I think, his position with us, and maybe at the next level is point guard. He's just a great passer. He's got a great feel. He puts the defense in scramble situations because it's hard to guard him one-on-one, and when you don't, we have enough talent around him to make teams pay. Really a steady kid, high character. Honestly, a coach's dream in that. He's super coachable. He wants to be pushed. He wants to be challenged. Whenever I get a chance to sit and watch film with him after a game, he's super accountable, and he knows the game. He's smart. So he's really talented. He's going to have a bright future in basketball with us and beyond that. But he's truly an elite player. You mentioned his brother Joey. Joey was a freshman last year. Um, I think as a freshman, there's going to be some ups and downs. Joey had a really nice season, but I've noticed just a totally different mental makeup, additional skill set with Joe this year. More confident. The game has slowed down for him. And he's going to continue to get better as the season goes on. To be a sophomore and impacting the varsity the way he has is impressive. I always try to think back to what would I have been like as a freshman on the varsity. And man, not only would I have been poor, very, very behind in skills, right? But like just
Yeah.
mentally, how do you handle that? And he's mature beyond his years. Joey's a guy who's really been able to shoot the 3 ball well. He's starting to really attack the rim with kind of authority. He's a guy who can dribble it once or twice from outside the 3 and slam it. He gets up, get him to be a little bit more physical inside and finish, out of the post. So just kind of rounding out his game a little bit more. But I think when you watch him, he looks like a freak. His athleticism is impressive. He runs like crazy. He's a really good defender. We put him on some of the other team's best players. So just continuing to kind of fine tune the details. but obviously both the brothers are Division 1 prospects, and I think when you watch us, you can see that. The thing that I think separates them and makes them even more special, at least to us, is just the character. Really strong, good family, come from good people, and they make it about the team, and they're about winning and about their teammates, and it's never about individual stuff ever.
It's interesting you mentioned playing varsity ball as a freshman. Back in my day, at least in the 80s, the thought of being on the varsity team as a freshman, even as a sophomore, was almost far fetched. It's like when a sophomore got called up at the end of the year to play in the postseason, that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And now it's just completely changed the skill level, the kids playing basketball, travel ball, right? To see freshmen step on the court these days is a pretty common theme. It really is across the state.
Yeah, what's interesting is, whether they're on your team or somebody else's team, you play them 4 times, or you play them 2 times over the course of 4 years. You play them 8 times. Maybe you play them in a playoff game. You feel like you have seen the same kids for so long. Like how many
Yeah.
plans have I had against this particular player? How many nightmares have I had trying to stop this particular player? A lot of those guys played at Whitefish Bay or Nicolay or Homestead, but we've got a couple now that are kind of game wreckers.
Talk about one of your other guards here, senior leader Bryson Fogel, almost 10 points per contest. Talk about his game a little bit, shooting at a high percentage, about 47% from the field. But this is a kid that can rebound the ball, dish it off a little bit. Talk about his athleticism.
Yeah, Bryson's an important part for us, and I would throw Brett Palm in there too. Brett's a 4-year player for us. Honestly, when he was up on the varsity, he was really impactful. But it was like we needed him to be up because we just didn't have much else. And his role through the years has changed, but he's been steady. He's been about let's say an 8 to 12 point scorer for 4 years. Bryson, same way. He's been a 3-year varsity guy for us, 3-year starter. Just been through a lot of battles. I think one of the things that he's done that's really helped him is he's changed his body. He's gotten a lot stronger, especially in his upper body, which allows him to. He's an athletic guy, as you mentioned, but he can defend, he can rebound, he can hold people off when he handles the ball. I think sometimes the strength component can be overlooked, but he's changed his body and allowed himself to really ascend from his sophomore year to his junior year, and then now I think he was like a 2 point per game scorer as a sophomore. As like a sixth, seventh man starter last year. He struggled the other night against Bay. It's early in the season, so his numbers dipped a little bit. But I think at his normal clip, he's about a 13 to 15 a night guy for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You got some great balance. No question about that. We'll talk about the other piece of your starting five, Colton Mance, another senior guy that's experienced. I think we talked off the air a little bit. You've had a number of 4-year basketball players in this program, but talk about Colton a little bit.
Yeah, Colton's the heartbeat of the group. He's an elite defender. He has been. Last year he was an all-conference player for us. He takes the other team's best player and usually makes it really tough on them or is able to shut them down. He's also like just the way he approaches his day-to-day work is unlike most high school kids. He's so serious. He's so locked in. He's so consistent. Um, like in 3 or 4 years, whatever it has been, I've probably addressed his effort twice. And both times he was great about it and instantly corrected it. But he is just so consistent, so competitive, wants to win. There's nights where he scores 10 or 12, and there's nights where he scores 0, and he doesn't care. He's just about winning. He's about really defense first. Um, and I think when you have a group of guys who have played together for a long time and put the team first, you can maximize yourself. And I think that that's what we've done to some extent.
Yeah, that's a very solid group of starting five. Talk about your bench a little bit,
Yeah.
how deep you go, and the keys to getting more bench points and getting more contributions out of the bench.
Yeah, Jude Sakarla is probably a guy who could start as well. I think he's been super selfless in saying, "Hey, I'm going to come off the bench and help the team." He didn't play the other night because of an injury, but he'll be back. He's been with us for 3 years as well. He's a junior, 6'6". His size and rebounding are really big for us, and then that depth it allows. Sometimes Jack and Joey to play more around the perimeter, and Jude to kind of anchor things inside. Um, the next one is Devin Berger. Devin's a senior. Devin's kind of our off the bench like sharpshooter. He had a game against Cedarburg where he had like 11 or 12, maybe hit three threes. But he's going to stretch the defense. He's going to be kind of a short minute guy, but we're looking for him to make a couple shots. The other guy is a sophomore, JJ Feilbach. Really athletic, younger guy. Still trying to find his way a little bit, but that's expected. He's kind of the newcomer to the group. Um, you mentioned it'll be in a long season. Him in particular, we're really looking for him to continue to grow. And then as we get to the second half of the season, how can he impact us with his abilities more? He's doing a great job, but I think we can continue to help him grow and tap into some of that potential as the season goes on. He also does a really good job defending. He's really athletic. He's long. We can put him on a guy and just say, hey, don't let him catch the basketball, make it tough on him. And he'll do that for short spurts, which is helpful to give guys a blow. And that depth is really important, not necessarily on a night to night basis, but over the course of the season when you're going to have illness and injury pop up, or sometimes it's just not somebody's night and we need somebody to step up. So, we'll go 8 deep. And I think that depth is important. So,
Let's talk about this North Shore Conference.
yeah.
We talk about the FVA and a number of other conferences throughout the state that are considered elite. I would put North Shore right there. As you know, you're 3-0 in the conference already this year. You had a big, resounding victory over that Cedarburg team that you lost to last year. But how does this North Shore really stack up this year? And it's going to be a marathon, no question about it.
Yeah, we went from 10 teams to seven. From last year to this year, there were 3 teams that left. Um, so there's less conference games, and I think that obviously makes them all the more important. You go from playing 18 to playing 12. But there's just no nights off. There are a couple things. Everybody knows everybody. So even if you're, not the best team in the league, you know how to give the other team problems and give them challenges. And the coaches in the league have been at the schools for a while, which I think speaks to the schools in the conference and the league, and that these are desirable places to be. Um, the talent at the top is really high. Every year there are Division I players in our league. There are Division I players who are second team all conference guys. So it's just a really talented league. Good coaching. There's just never a night off. You have to bring it every night. Um, and then you couple the fact that we've got some tough non-conference games too. There's just not a lot of, there's really never a break, but every night you're going to be challenged to bring your best, which is fun. We play at Homestead tonight, like I mentioned. It's going to be packed. It'll be a great environment. 2 really good teams, and honestly, the difference between winning and losing is going to be really small. Both teams can win, and both teams, are have the kind of similar goals, right? They want to win a conference championship. They want to make a deep playoff run. So it's fun. It's exciting to be in the mix, but at the same time, ton of respect for everybody in our league. We played Hartford the other night. And I think they were projected to be like 6th in our conference. And I'm like, no way. I mean, these guys are good. They score the basketball. They've got a ton of guys who can hit threes. And they were winning at halftime against us. So we had to make some adjustments in order to kind of pull away at the end. But there's just never a night off. And it's a really talented league. I know there are other ones you mentioned, but I think good leagues make you better. So if our record maybe at the end of the season means we have a few more losses, we'll be better because of it, from playing in a league like this.
Yeah, you mentioned Hartford. They're 2-1 in the conference, but this is a big game for Homestead tonight. They're 1-1 in the conference. You guys 3-0. So this game is a huge one. If you can get the win and go to 4-0, get yourself a little separation. But it should be a fun season, obviously, and we have a long ways to go. We're not even quite to Christmas yet. But hey, I want to thank you for your time, Coach Lavine. Always fun catching up with you. Want to wish you,
Yeah.
your team, everybody at Slinger, your family, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year coming up.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Happy holidays. Enjoy some downtime in the next couple weeks.
There you go. We will most definitely do. Alex Lavine joining us on the Justapod this morning from Slinger. I want to thank him again. And if you want to listen and watch our video Justapod, you can go to justagame.com and catch it there. And also on the Just a Game YouTube channel. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. I was your host, Craig Bone. It was Alex Lavine joining us on Justapod. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. It'll be Tim Schultz. And we also have Lee Rubbis in the queue as well from Neenah High School. But we'll talk to Tim Schultz next from the Plymouth Panthers. Until next time, have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.